Hello friends, welcome to NCRT Class 8 Geography. My name is Dinesh. So today we will discuss about second chapter. So in this chapter we have five major resources. These are the land, soil, water, natural vegetation, and wildlife. First is land. As we know that land covers only about 30% of the total areas of the earth, and all of this small percentage are not habitable because some areas are densely populated and some areas are sparsely populated. So the rugged topography, steep slope of the mountains, low-lying areas which are prone to waterlogging and desert are thick, and thick forested areas are normally sparsely populated or uninhabited. On the other hand, plain and the river valley offer suitable land for agriculture. So these are the densely populated areas of the world. Next topic is land use. So land is used for different purposes such as the agriculture, forestry, mining, building houses and road construction and setting up of industry. So this is commonly termed as land use. You can see in your surroundings that people are using land for different purposes. So the land use of any area is determined by the physical factors such as the topography, soil, climate, mineral and availability of water. For example, if you want to do agriculture, then we need fertile soil, good climate and availability of the water for irrigation. So these are the parameters which determines the land use pattern of particular area. The land can also be classified on the basis of ownership. Ownership means possessed by the people, whether individual or group of people. So private and the we have on the basis of ownership we have private and community land. So private land is owned by the individual, whereas community land is owned by the community for common uses like collection of fodder, foods, nuts or medicinal herbs. So these community land are also called common property resource. For example, pond in a village. So the water of the pond used by the people of village. People and their demands are ever growing, but the availability of land is limited. So the quality of the land also differ from place to place. It is not same everywhere. People started encroaching the common land to build up commercial areas and housing complexes in urban areas and to expand the agriculture land in the rural area. Today, the vast changes in the land use patterns also reflect the cultural changes in our society. Let's see. In this slide, you can see in the first figure here that more agriculture land is available there, but in the last slide, urbanization is there, industrialization there, so very less land left for agriculture. So this reflects the cultural changes of our society. So land degradation, landslide, soil erosion, desertification are the major threat to the environments because of the expansion of agriculture and constructional activities. Next topic is conservation of land resource. How we can conserve land. So one by one we will discuss. So growing population and their never-ending demands has led to the large-scale destruction of forest cover and arable land. Arable land means which can be used for agriculture. So has created a fear of losing this natural resource. So therefore, the present rate of the degradation of land must be checked through afforestation or by planting more and more trees and land reclamation. Land reclamation means filling up of seabeds and lakes. So in this way, we can create a land. So we should regulate the use of chemical pesticide and fertilizers, and we should check on the overgrazing. So these are the some common methods to conserve land resource. Next is degradation of soil and conservation measures. So soil erosion and the depletion are the major threats to soil as a resource. Both the human and natural factors are responsible for the degradation of soil or degradation of land. So factors which led to the soil degradation are deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of the chemical fertilizers, pesticides, rainwash, and landslide and floods. So these are the factors responsible for soil degradation. So some method we should follow to check this degradation or which can help us to conserve soil. So these are the mulching, terrace farming, contour flowing, intercropping, shelter beds and rock dam. First is mulching. So When the bare ground between the plants is covered with the organic matter like straw, so it helps to retain moisture and prevent soil erosion, because when the rainfall occurs and drops will not disturb the soil cloths, and later on the moisture retained by this straw can be used by plants. So this is mulching. Next is contour barrier. So barriers along the contours are made with the stone, grass, uh, which intercept the downslope flowing of water and prevent soil erosion. So they also filter out and trap many of the suspended soil particles and keeping them from being washed out of the field. So this was about contour barrier. Next is rock dam. When the rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of waters, and this prevent gullies and further soil erosion. And later on, the water which is accumulated in the dam can be used for irrigation purpose and other domestic use. Next is terrace farming. So terraces are made on the slope of hill by the farmers to prevent surface runoff uh, down to the slope. Next is intercropping. When the different crops are grown in alternative rows and are sown at the different times to protect the soil from rainwash, as you can see in this image. Next is contour plowing. Farmers will plow the field along the contours perpendicular to the slope, that is called contour plowing. So this kind of contour barriers perpendicular to the slope prevent surface runoff. Next is shelter belt. So these kind of shelter belts are uh, made in coastal and desert area. So these belts prevent the wind movements. For example, the wind is coming from this direction, but obstacle created by this belt will not allow the wind to pass toward these directions, and ultimately what will happen is the topsoil will not uh, blow away by the wind from this area. So this refers shelter belt. Next topic is soil. So what is soil? Soil is actually thin layer of the grainy substance covering the upper part of the earth surface, and it is closely linked to land. So landform determines the type of soil, whether it is a black soil, red soil, yellow soil, etc. So soil is made up of different organic matters, so minerals and the weathered rock found on the earth. So this happens through the process of weathering. Weathering is a disintegration of the rocks into smaller particles by exogenic processes like rain, climate, temperatures, etc. So the right mix of the minerals and organic matters make the soil fertile. This slide represents the soil profile. On the top there is humus and vegetation. Then beneath this we have subsoil with the sand, silt and clay. Under this we have weathered rock materials, and at the bottom we have parent rock. By digging up the ground you will get different layers, and these layers having the different physical, chemical and biological properties. So vertical cross section of this layer is called soil profile. Next, soil forming factors. Here we have 5 soil forming factors. These are the parent rocks, relief, flora, fauna and microorganism, climates and time. The parent rock lie under the topsoil. So this is the layers of rock which determines the colors, texture, chemical properties, minerals, contents and permeability of soil. Another is relief. Relief is a topography. So in this we have altitudes and slope which determines the accumulation of soil. On the top of hill the thickness of soil is less as compared to the down area. Next is flora, fauna and microorganism. So these affect the rate of humus formation. Humus is nothing but dead matters of plant, animals and microorganisms. So when the plants, animals and microorganisms decay, converted into humus, and this humus act as a natural fertilizers for the growth of plants and crops. Next is climate. In climate we have the temperature and rainfall, which influence the rate of weathering and humus formation of in any areas. So this was about climate. Next is time. So time determines the thickness of soil profile. Next is landslide. So landslide are simply defined as the mass movement of rocks, debris or earth down a slope. As you can see in this image, here debris affecting settlement in the down areas and causing heavy damage. So landslides often take place in the conjunction with the earthquake, floods and volcanoes. A prolonged spell of the rainfall can cause heavy landslide that can block the flow of river, as you can see in this image. And sometimes when the these barriers breakdowns, then led to the hazards like situation or flood like situation in low-lying areas. Next is a case study. So this is a case study of Pangi village near Ricompio in Kinnaur district of Himachal Pradesh, which damaged here landslide damaged 200 meters stretch of old Hindustan Tibet road on National Highway 22. So as you can see, and this was triggered by the intense blasting at Pangi village. So due to the blasting, the weak zone slope collapsed and caused the intense damage to the road and nearby villages. So the Pangi village was completely vacated to avoid any possible loss of life. Now in this we will discuss about mitigation mechanisms. So these are possible through the advancement in the scientific techniques and by understanding the factors which cause landslide, and uh, here we will discuss about the mitigation techniques of landslide. So these are hazards mapping through remote sensing and GIS to locate the areas prone to landslides, such as such areas can be avoided for building settlements. Another is construction of retention wall to stop a landform from slipping. As you can see here, retention wall created and which prevent slipping of land from the upside. Another is by increasing vegetation or planting more and more tree can help to arrest the landslide in hilly areas. Another is surface drainage control, as you can see in this image. So when the rainfall will occur, the water will accumulate and flow in this, so prevent soil erosion or landslide in hilly areas. So the movement of landslide along the rain waters and spring flow. So this kind of drainage control can be created or constructed in hill area. Next topic is water. So water is a vital renewable natural resource. 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered with water, and it is therefore appropriately called the water planet. So that's why we call earth as a water planet, because of the abundance water there. Another, the ocean covers 2/3 of the earth's surface and support the rich variety of plants and animals, and ocean water is however saline and not fit for human consumption, so directly we can not use it. So fresh waters account only for 2.7%, of which 70% of the of this water occurs at the ice sheet and the glacier in Antarctica in freeze form. So Greenland and the mountain regions, so these are not accessible for human beings. So only 1% of the fresh water is available and fit for human use. So it is found in groundwater, as a surface water in the river and lakes, and as a water vapor in the atmosphere. And in this diagram, the water can neither be added or nor be subtracted from the earth. So it circulates from uh, hydrosphere to atmosphere to lithosphere, and then again to hydrosphere. So this cyclic form, the water circulate in this form is called water cycle, and this is through the process of evaporation, precipitation and runoff. So human use a huge amount of the water, not only for drinking and washing, but also in the process of productions, water for agriculture, industry, generating electricity through the reservoir of dam, or the other usages. So increasing population, rising demand for the food and cash crops, increasing urbanizations and rising standard of living are the major factors leading to the shortage in the water supply, uh, either due to the drying up of water sources or water pollution. Now let's discuss about the problem of water availability. So even though the water is a renewable resource, its overuse and the pollution make it unfit for human use. So discharge of the untreated or partially treated sewage, agriculture, chemicals, and industrial effluents in the water are the major contaminants. So most of these chemicals are biodegradable and reach human bodies through the water, and water pollution can be controlled by the treating these effluents suitably before releasing them into the water bodies. So here we need to follow some techniques to conserve water. We should increase forest cover, which can help to prevent surface runoff and replenish the underground waters. Another is water harvesting technique, which should be followed by the people. So what is water harvesting? It is when the rainwater harvesting is the process of, so this is the process actually of collecting rainwater from the rooftop and directing it to the appropriate locations, and where it is later on used for the different purposes, maybe for agriculture, for irrigation or other domestic use. Another is canal used for the irrigation field should be properly lined to minimize the losses by water seepage. Another is sprinkler technique should be followed by the farmers to irrigate their fields. So this can also help to conserve water. Another is drip or triple irrigation, especially in the areas where the shortage of water is there. As you can see in this image, this is the sprinkler techniques, and this is the drip or trickle irrigation. So these techniques can help to conserve uh, water. Next is natural vegetation and wildlife. So what is natural vegetation? When the vegetation grows without the human interference is called natural vegetation. So natural vegetation and the wildlife exist only in the narrow zone of contact between lithosphere. Lithosphere means land area, and hydrosphere and atmosphere. So as you can see in this, so that we call biosphere. In the biosphere, living beings are related and interdependent on each other. For example, human beings need land to make shelter and eat uh, food, and air to breathe, and water to drink. So this life supporting system is known as ecosystem. So vegetation and wildlife are a valuable resource. Plant provide us with the timbers, give shelters to animals, produce oxygen, protect soil, so essential for the growing crops, act as a shelter belt, and vegetation help in storage of underground water, and provides food, nuts, medicines, etc. So wildlife include the animals, bird, insect, as well as the aquatic life form. They provide milk, meat, hides, and wool. So vultures, due to its ability to feed on dead livestock, is a scavenger and considered a vital cleanser of the environment. So animals, whether big or small, all are integral to maintaining balance in the ecosystem. Now let's discuss about the distribution of natural vegetation. The growth of the vegetations depend primarily on the temperature and moisture. The major vegetation type of the world are grouped as the forest, grasslands, scrubs, and tundra. Tundra is a cold region lying on high altitude and latitudinal areas. So, in the areas of heavy rainfall, huge trees may thrive, and the forests are thus associated with the areas having abundant water supply. As the amount of the moisture decreases, the size of trees and their density reduces. The short stunted tree and the grass grow in the region of moderate rainfall, forming the grassland of the world. As velds, prairies, pampas, etc. So thorny scrub and scrubs grow in the dry areas of low rainfall. For example, in desert areas, in such areas, plant have deep roots and leaves with the thorny and the waxy surface reduce the loss of moisture through the transpiration. The tundra vegetation of colder regions comprises of the mosses and lichens because these kind of vegetation exist only for a short period of time, especially in the summer season. Uh, so this was about the tundra vegetation. Today, there are many more peoples in the world uh, than there were 2 centuries back. So to feed the growing number of large areas of forests have been cleared to grow crops, and forest cover all over the world is vanishing rapidly. So there is an urgent need to conserve this valuable resource. Next is conservation of the natural vegetation and wildlife. Forests are our wealth and plants give shelter to the animals and together they maintain the ecosystem. The change of the climates and the human interference can cause loss of the natural habitats for plants and animals. So many species have becomes vulnerable or endangered, and some are on the verge of extinction. Deforestation, soil erosion, constructional activities, forest fire, tsunami, landslides are some of the humans and the natural factors which accelerate the process of extinction of these kind of resources. Another problem is poaching. The animals are poached for the collection and illegal trade of hides and skins, nails, teeth, horns, as well as feathers. So this led to the declines in the number of species. So some of the animals are like tiger, lion, elephants, deers, black bucks, crocodiles, rhinoceros, and snow leopards, ostrich, and peacocks are poached by the human. So these can conserve by increasing awareness. So governments have taken initiative that they have declared some areas as national park, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. The conservation of the creeks, lakes, and wetland is necessary to save the precious resource from depletion. So there is a balance in the environments if the relative number of the species is not disturbed. So human activities in several parts of the world have disturbed the natural habitats of many species. So due to the indiscriminate killing, several birds and the animals have either become extinct or are on the verge of extinction. So awareness programs like the social forestry and the Van Mahotsav should be encouraged at the regional and community levels. School children should be encouraged to bird watch and visit nature camps so that they appreciate the habitat of the varied species. So many countries have passed a law against the trade as well as the killing of the birds and animals. In India, killing of lion, tiger, deer, and great Indian bustards and peacock is illegal. And international conservation on conservation, that is CITE, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, has been established that lists several species of animals and birds in which the trade is prohibited. So this is actually an international agreement between the governments. So it aims to ensure that international trade in uh, specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival, and it came into effect in 1975. Now here in glossary we have national park and biosphere reserve. So both are the protected area for the conservation of this wildlife. In national park there is more restriction and human activities and hunting is not allowed. It is totally banned in national park, and in biosphere reserve uh, there may be several national park and wildlife sanctuary. Human activities are allowed at some extent,